Jupiter, king of the planets. You've probably already been enjoying it, but I'll also tell you how to find it, because it's so bright you can't miss it. A lot of you have been noticing in the news, there's a space mission, Artemis. It's a whole multi-level planned kind of getting back to the moon and hopefully working out a way that we can go beyond Mars is one of the things that people talk about. But the launch of the second phase has been delayed, but I'll just give you a little bit of news about that. This is from NASA. I really like it, so I played it twice. Okay, look at that. I mean, this is an amazingly big. I mean, all the rockets are big, but that is where it's being held. It's, as I said, Artemis 2. The launch was slated for early February and maybe even earlier, but they've been looking for decent, not so freezing weather. And now the latest problem, they had a hydrogen leak, and thank God they found it. And then it's delayed till March. And here's a little something from NASA about the possibilities and the days where they could that they could use in March. I don't exactly know why some of them are in green. Some of them are obviously better than others, but there you have it. And I love, occasionally I'll have a slide from the Onion Press. It's sort of satirical magazine. It's mostly digital, and I love it because it's got the best headlines. But as long as you know that they're not real, and they admittedly so. But one of my favorite is when something like this happens, they have a control center saying, count down to the next delay. So that's where we're at now. Okay. Basically, very briefly, Artemis 1 was in 2022, and they did a test flight with no crew on their special rocket with an Orion spacecraft, no crew. Now the Artemis 2, which is what we're talking about, will be the first crewed launch of both Orion and the SLS rocket. The spacecraft will carry a crew of 4 astronauts past the moon, circle it, and return to Earth. So not the man. It's the third one that is going to send a crew with the next astronauts to land on the moon. And there will be more. There is a Artemis 4, hopefully. And what they're trying to do is actually leave something around the orbit of the moon, like a space station, a mini space station. Oh, thank you. I see you're nodding, so you guys know. And then actually have a habitat on the moon, which is so incredibly cool. So, and of course, the idea is you get an idea of what it's like to work in space and to work on a future mission, and then to have really use the moon as a springboard to another heavenly body. So let's hear it for them. So that'll be sometime in March. I always the other thing to look forward to is let me see. We've got Ash Wednesday coming up. We've got Mardi Gras coming up. We've got the Super Bowl coming up. I'm not into football. I think it's fun and everybody, enjoys it. I just got some snacks tonight. I don't even know if I'm going to watch, but I'm all set up. And one of these memes, it's just wonderful, like a soldier writing from a tent in war, very, sad. But whatever's on his mind at this point. There you go. So it's not the end of the world. It's just the Super Bowl commercials. Speaking of that, one of them, I have a daughter. I mean, she's 38, but she loves dinosaurs ever since she was little. She actually asked me one Christmas. I didn't know what to do. She goes, "Can I have a fossil? Can I have a dino phone?" And I thought, "How am I going to do that?" But it was fun. It was fun finding out that I had them. There was a store nearby that had it, Discovery Store, which isn't there anymore. But the idea with dinosaurs, of course, I love, because it has to do with early Earth and meteors and things that are of interest to astronomers anyway. but it was probably considered a junk bone. Like there's a quarry where they, find a lot of them. Well, since they're finding new species, there are probably no junk bones anymore. You really have to be careful. So that's amazing that you're always finding out more and more. But one of the Super Bowl commercials is they sort of redid Jurassic Park with a lot of the original actors, which I think is going to be so cool. But since it involves meteors, I wanted to just have a little extra light moment for that. Um, there's one I don't have it tonight, but there's one of the T-Rex, frantically trying to look through binoculars to see what's heading for them. But of course, they have the little fingers. There you go. There's always one, right? Okay, we're going to actually get serious. Happy Mardi Gras. Um, and I put this in 2 years ago after I had come back from New Orleans, and what had happened, it wasn't for Mardi Gras, but we always joke about looking up in the sky when we're walking. We're supposed to be watching where we're going. And I actually did back up looking at the Louisiana sky and fell. It wasn't awful. I twisted a little something in my knee, so it took me a few days to get back. But yeah, please don't do that. Stop where stop where you are and look up. And the more you know about stars and the more you learn about them, and then you find one that's familiar to you, and then maybe the next week you look up what's next to it and check out a good sky map. And that's how I look at the sky. I'm not a science guy. I'm an English major, and many years ago. But I do always have a bunch of maps for you to take home. They're back by the sales desk. And when you look at all the dots, don't panic, because there really is a way, especially in New Jersey, which isn't known for very, very dark skies. But I learned and found when I went to Upper Vermont and then once to Wyoming that a really dark sky is so star-studded that you can't make out patterns that well. It would really take me a long time to find constellations that I can find easily here. So, New Jersey is known for a lot of things. I think it's a great state, even in the metropolitan area where you can learn patterns in the sky. Like we're responsible in the 1850s for having dug up the first, again, I'm randoming here, the first nearly complete dinosaur skeleton display in the world. That is the hadrosaur from the Cherry Hill area of New Jersey. And we're also responsible for hearing the Big Bang, right down in Homedale. If you look up what New Jersey is first for, we have a state dinosaur. A lot of states don't have a state dinosaur. And also don't stargaze and move at the same time. All right. I like to mention birthdays. At the bottom, everyone knows Galileo. Clyde Tombaugh, we happen to have in the back of the room, and you can see later when the lights go on, an autographed photo of Clyde Tombaugh, because he died in 1997, so he was obviously a scientist that all of us were alive at the same time. And in case anyone doesn't know, he is the one that discovered Pluto, according to some people, the ninth planet, according to other people, the 10th planet. But that's pretty cool. So I wanted to mention happy birthday to Clyde. The moon, I'm going to just deal with first. People love to know the name of the month's full moon, because they all have different names from different cultures, a lot here from the Native Americans. And this one is pretty obvious why February is called snow moon, so I won't belabor it anymore. But it's past, but I got this really nice photo of a nice snowy place with the beautiful moon. And just to let you know, the February moon phases, one thing about the moon, we love it. And I have binoculars, by the way, that I use more than my telescope. So I usually mention the moon is wonderful. If you have binoculars at home, they don't really have to be too fancy. To do other things, maybe you need something a little more expensive. And you know, you can spend $3,000 on a great binocular set up on a tripod and the whole bit. But a lot of people have their first astronomy piece of equipment at home already. So, you know, we do have people who can advise you on buying whoops, telescopes, and binoculars, because it's very confusing. If you see something at the department store, the pharmacy for $30, don't do it. But you know, I got my first on eBay for $35. I mean, that was like 20 years ago. But you know, you don't have to spend a lot of money. The moon we love, but it is a little easier to see the night sky when the moon isn't in the way. It does tend to drown things out. So either if it hasn't come up yet, you're in luck, or the time of the new moon, which is when it's not really visible. That would be February 17th. All right, now here's everybody in our solar system, and you notice I copied and pasted a little Pluto at the end. We have some members who are very upset that Pluto was demoted. So, and some of us agree, and some of us don't, but that's okay. Jupiter is the first one that we see. It's pretty much in an hour or so, it'll be right overhead. But it's going to be in the evening sky till early June. The picture there is actually someone who's online with us, Cliff Ashcraft on the lower left. But I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, I'll just make sure not to make the slides that low. That negative 2.6 magnitude average, it sounds fancy, but all it is how bright a star is to us where we are. And it's subjective in a way. I mean, it's looking from where we on Earth are looking. And the negative numbers are actually brighter. So once you get into 0 and negative 0.1 and negative 2, really Jupiter and Venus are the only ones that are that high. The other planets are not that bright. And of course, except for the sun and the moon, Jupiter and Venus are the ones that are so bright that when you look, it's like, what the heck is that? And here's a photo that Cliff took, and he usually puts some information. I cut the picture I had in half so you could read, and blew up a lot of astrophotographers, and there's several in our group, excellent ones, give you some sort of information for those of you who are into photography. And there are people who can teach you actually how to do this, and I will have one or two other examples in the slide presentation. But really, with the onslaught of new products, and it's been around for a while, you take a whole bunch of exposures, and then you leave the camera open for a certain amount of time, and it just keeps taking light in, and then you stack them. And then there are programs where you can kind of fine tune the photos. But it looks like things that you see from Hubble. I remember the first time somebody years ago took a picture of the Andromeda Galaxy, and we were kidding and saying, you didn't really take this, but he did. So anyway, thank you very much, Cliff. As you see in the upper left, that is a wonderful feature. You see all those bands of storms and gases. Jupiter is one of our gas giants. It's the largest planet in our solar system. And that a great red spot, which is a storm, Well, we've been watching it for about 200 years. Is that about right? I don't know if it's gone back much farther, but that's only because we've seen it, but could be might be much older. Maybe it could be new. Seems to be getting a little smaller. And the cool thing about the universe and the solar system, especially that we can, look at closely, is it's always changing. A few years ago, those bands started disappearing, and we weren't sure whether they were hidden by something else, like a storm that was on top of it, and then it went back to normal. So it's just really very cool to that kind of thing really hooks you into the hobby when you can make a few ideas and a few things that you notice your own. One good thing that footballers does is you see on the upper left, S is up, meaning south is up. The way that telescopes are made, the image is inverted, so it's upside down. Binoculars, not so. You see what you get when you look at binoculars, but you will get an upside down phrase. And we all know that the great red spot is on the south, not the north part of the planet. So that's always good to know. Another good thing is when I see a picture of Saturn, the rings aren't really terribly open right now, but when they are, you can tell some of them will be upside down. I go to I make sure who I go to online, because you all know you gotta be careful about that. But you will be able to see that. Here is on the right is a photo by one of our people, Wayne Zool. And this is pretty much in a very small field of view, what you can see in a telescope. It wouldn't be this, this is sort of a worked on photo. But you get not only you see the bands there, up in the left there, that's kind of what you see when you look through binoculars. So you don't need anything too fancy. The cool thing about the 4 moons, I'll give you their names here. Jupiter has how many?
29.
95.
29. Oh, 95.
95, yeah. And it changes all the time. When did we get to Saturn? Like last year, they added so many. It was really crazy. And every time before I talk, I go online to make sure they haven't discovered another one. So who knows, we may both be wrong. There you go. But it's so cool that they change position all the time. This view, and you can see them, they're very tiny and a good set of binoculars. And the better your binoculars are, the more you need to hold it still or hold it, lean against something. But the best thing would be a nice tripod. But you see them, sometimes there's 2 on this side, 2 on that side. And when I told you about things changing all the time, that's another thing about Jupiter. They're in a matter of few hours to maybe a day and a half, all those 4 moons, we call them the Galilean moons because Galileo discovered them. They're in a different place. So some people really like to, and I'll show you later, how it looks when they cross over in front of Jupiter. But there's Callisto, Ganymede, Europa, and Io. The reason it was so, well, they were called Galilean because he discovered them, but he also made a very big discovery in astronomy. He realized that these things were orbiting around Jupiter, a planet. And at that point, everybody thought that everything went around us because we were the center of the universe, or the solar system. And so that was really, that made it a very important scientific discovery. Just to give you a quick rundown, because Jupiter is our king of the night. It's the star, even though it's a planet, the star of February. So Io's there. It's terribly volcanic. See, it's still they're active volcanoes. I mean, it's just, things are popping all the time. Europa, which is also the name of a YouTube album. My other daughter's a YouTube fanatic. That's icy. One of the smoothest things in the solar system. They think it's so active that instead of just being super cratered, it's like some things are rising to the surface all the time, and that's how it gets that smooth area. And it's just wonderful. Look at those ice patches, whatever they are. Ganymede is the largest in the solar system. It's largest moon in the solar system. It's even it's bigger than Mercury. And it's the only moon that's got a magnetic field, which makes a big difference to a heavenly body. And Callisto is so, it seems that some of these are covered in ice. Here, it seems to be a rock ice blend. So people feel that it's extremely old. It could be one of the oldest bodies in the whole solar system. It just keeps melding. And you've got a blend. And it's the oldest anything in our solar system. So they're just so cool. For those of us who love catching what we call when moons travel in front of a planet, that's actually how we find new planets. And we look and we say, is this a star or a planet? And even amateurs can help. People who aren't, official scientists working on a project. When you see, let's say, a star and the light just decreases a tiny bit. I mean, you need instruments. It's not like the whole thing going south. But that shows you that it has a satellite, which is, a better word to use than moon. Our moon is moon, call it moon. But other planets have satellites, and we call it transits. And I picked 4 dates. This is going on all month. But Ganymede is going to transit Jupiter early in the evening, February 11. And when you see them, I don't think I have a slide. No, I should show you. But if you look up transiting, sometimes pictures will show a moon, and you can see it off to the side. But when it's going in front, you can see the moon plus black dot on Jupiter. So it casts a shadow, and it's just really cool. I mean, they're not in the same place, but the sun is casting a shadow. Io will be February 4th, February 28th. Callisto transits. So you folks at home and here, you could probably just take a photo of the screen, or I can play the slide again. And Europa, there you go. It's all Eastern Standard, but it's a very cool project for astrophotographers. Now here's the latest number of moons or satellites that Saturn has, 274. And it's very low. It switches to the morning sky in mid-April, and it's kind of going out of sight just before that. The end of February, you see how this is the sky. East is over here, as you know. I see these are new over the doors to the telescopes. That says E for east. This says W for west. And planets are on the same, we're on the same plane. All the solar system planets are on the same plane, and it doesn't always happen, but that's just how our solar system is built. And what they do is this arc here that you see goes from the east, following the path of the sun, and so that line is called the ecliptic. You know this stuff already, but it goes overhead, not so much overhead, as a little south of overhead, and then they sink in the west at the end of the night. stars for the season. Let's say we start looking at 7:30 or 7 here in the observatory, and from 7 to 11, they keep going. So, and then you get a new set. After a few months, you get a whole new set, and that would be spring constellations and all that. Well, the planets happen to be in that line. It's called the ecliptic because the sun and sometimes the moon follow that, and sometimes the moon, it's not always on the ecliptic line, but when it is, we get an eclipse. So you can Google that and get some cool information. But the cool thing about that arc is all the zodiac all the zodiac constellations that we're familiar with from astrology, they are in that line too. That's how they got their prominence. And of course, during the day, you can't see, although with the apps you have on the phone, you can see where everything is. So that really is replacing a lot of astronomy equipment, and it's wonderful. But you will see that the planets are only in big. They won't be like, let's say, the Big Dipper in Ursa Major is kind of in the north. You'll never see a planet over there. It's always here. So it makes it easy to find. So we have constellation and the planets themselves. Now, towards the end, you can see earthsky.org is very cool. They go over what's happening that month. So you can, redo or do your own presentation. When you see Astronomy Magazine, Sky and Telescope Magazine, NASA has a what's up this month. But anyway, they're showing towards the end of the month, you see how low Saturn is, you're going to be able to see Venus just a little bit. If you can get, that's really the horizon, the western horizon. So you can really, towards the end of the month, if you can try to see that, Venus is one of those, just like Jupiter, when it's in the sky, you know it. It's usually just a little brighter than Jupiter. There's nothing as bright as Venus or the moon at night. Mercury is very, very hard to see. You need, to be really smart now, binoculars or telescope. I won't labor too long on that. But this shows you Saturn is sinking closer to the western horizon. Venus is very low. It's coming up just a little bit by the end, depending on where you like to stargaze. If you've got good horizon, that would be absolutely marvelous. The other thing is Saturn is not super, super bright like Venus and Jupiter. So it helps to know sometimes that a familiar view is going to help you. The beginning, here's February 19th in the middle there. You see the right near Saturn. That's a little graphic of the crescent moon, which is a lovely thing to look at anyway. But that will help you locate where Saturn is. Now Venus, by the end of the month, now that's negative 3.9. So it was negative 2 point something for Jupiter. So this is negative 3, which means it's a negative number, and it's 3 more negative, 1 more negative than negative 2. So it's brighter. Okay. So that's going to be maybe 10 degrees high at sunset, and it'll set in about an hour. So you really got to try to go out there as soon as the sun goes down. And remember, we're heading for spring, so it's lighter during the day. It takes a while for the sun to go down, and a lot of people have been dying for that to happen. Uranus is up there too. You could, if you know where you're looking, you could catch it in binoculars. I never have. The only thing I had done is I was here about 10 years or more before I saw it in this telescope here. It was so cool because, how far away it is. And it was tiny, but it was green. I mean, it was really, really heavy colors. It just knocked me out. An interesting thing about Uranus is not just the name, but it was knocked on its side at some point. It has rings like all the bigger outer planets, not just Saturn, but like this one and Jupiter, they're more rocky than icy. So the icy part of the moons of Saturn, um, the icy part of the ring makes it glow more. Okay, so as you can see, it's very much on its side, and this is gives you the idea. You're looking in this big telescope. It's just this tiny little spot, but the fact that you can see this, there are other times of the year where you can see a galaxy, and the fact that it's just a smudge in the telescope, but the fact that you know with the Andromeda Galaxy, which is prominent in another part of the year, but you teach people how to look for that. That is just so cool. It really is. Okay, this is our sky for towards the end of winter, and as you can see, now this is Venus. It is in Aquarius. I want to make sure I'm giving you the right. Yeah, we didn't show them all down here because like I said, it's going to take a while for everything to go from east to everything's going to move during the month. And that's, you're going to be able to see the constellation it's in. This is Saturn plus. We didn't really talk about Neptune. That you need a telescope for. But they're both in Pisces here. And as we go, now here we go, this is Aquarius, this is Pisces, and you can see that we're doing that line across the ecliptic. And here's Aries, another zodiac constellation. This is Uranus, this is actually where it is, and this is in Taurus, right here. And the people at home, I'm sorry, you can't see me doing this, but I'm going from the right over to the left part of the graphic. And here is Jupiter. It is in Gemini, the twins. And then if we keep going, this is Cancer, another zodiac constellation. And then this usually tells us when this is coming right overhead, we know it's spring. And the backward question mark, that is Leo. Okay, so that gives you an idea of finding your way around the sky. Don't forget the big winter stars. We are going to talk about just two specifically here. This one, which is the twins Gemini, which is the one that's got Jupiter in it, and then we're going to talk about Cancer. But here, these are still, very much overhead, and winter sky, probably just to make them suffer, has some of the brightest stars, so you cannot avoid them. Some people's favorite constellation is right here, Orion. That's wonderful. If you have binoculars and there's the Orion, the line there that is Orion's belt. I don't know if you guys are Men in Black fans, but Orion's belt is actually part of the plot, which is very funny. And they're actually looking at the stars of Orion to try to figure out where this jewel that they bring is. And you have Beetlejuice, which of course we know is called the movie. If you look at this in binoculars, and you look at here, it's supposed to be the sword hanging down from Orion's belt. That has a nebula that looks very spacey through binoculars. And so it really gives you that, most of the stars are dots, and that's fine. You can see which ones are the bright ones because they're big dots. You can also see colors. And there are, stars do have colors. And what's interesting is when they get older and sort of getting a little warm as opposed to white hot, they get gold and stars that we call big giants are really older and cooler than the other side is like blue white, and then there's white, and then there's kind of white, and then there's yellow, and then there's, that red look, which is really more like Mars is that color, it's like flesh color. Okay, those flesh colored ones are cooler, and the white and the blue white ones are actually red hot. So that's kind of cool. But just to, I usually like to show not only photos when I can of the sky, not just the stick figures and the shapes and the words, because they're not up there when you're trying to figure your way around. But anyway, this is a good way to get excited. The other one, I'm going to show you the very large winter stars as well, and then we'll go on to where Jupiter is slightly to the left of center, and a little looks like a wishbone or a broomstick walking, which is the constellation. I've already lost. It's Friday. I used all my words up. Cancer. You see how there's hardly anything that looks very bright there. You can barely see it, but there's a really cool feature that I'll show you. Okay, these are the winter. We have a winter triangle, which is really something else. That's the first thing I heard. It's in Orion. We've got Betelgeuse, and then Sirius, and then Procyon. These two are dog stars, Canis Minor, smaller dog, and then larger dog, Sirius. Sirius is actually the brightest star in the sky. Okay, period. And then Procyon is another part of it. They're actually supposed to be Orion's hunting dogs, and they are leading him. So actually, these three, Betelgeuse, Procyon, and Sirius, they're pretty much the brightest things that you'll see in the sky at that point. All right. And of course, everyone's got to stay outside a little bit to let their eyes get used to the dark. But those are unmistakable. So your eyes are going to be drawn to them. So I wanted to make sure you knew. Now, there are other set of very, very bright stars. So somebody came up with winter hexagon. Again, it helps. Here's Sirius. Here's Rigel, which is at the bottom. Very, very bright star in Orion. And then they actually ignore Betelgeuse. They go up to Aldebaran, which is in months past. I did a whole thing about Taurus, the bull, and the constellation, and etc. But Aldebaran is a yellow giant or gold giant, and that is the eye of the bull. Okay, much bigger than the sun. It's very cool to look at pick a star and say, how does it compare to the sun? This, which hardly anybody knows, the constellation of Auriga, Capella, is so bright that people look and say, what is that? We should know. And it's one of the few things I made myself memorize. But again, coming down to Castor and Pollux, these are in the Gemini constellation, and this is not. This doesn't take into account the planets, but this is about where you'll find Jupiter. Okay, and then it goes to Procyon and Sirius. So I think I have another. The kind of map I show you. This is going back. I've just sort of clumsily drawn a photo around it. But that is really what you see when you're out there. It's wonderful. There's a whole another section on why a lot of stars, by the way, we're gonna talk about, just briefly, this is, the lion, Leo constellation, that's Regulus. In Orion, this is Bellatrix. This is Sirius. And a lot of the Harry Potter characters are named after constellations and stars. There's no real reason for it. I tried to look it up and spin some great theory. She just thought it would be cool. Yeah, but it's just very cool. Another lecture. So Jim and I, just to let you know, we try to do a little bit on the mythological or cultural appropriations of the kind of patterns that you see in the sky. A lot of the patterns, for example, we're not really talking about the Ursa Major, the Big Bear, but the Little Dipper and Big Dipper, Big Dipper and the Big Bear and the Little Dipper that has the North Star. They're constellations, but the Dipper names, Big Dipper and Little Dipper, are called asterisms. They're not actually the constellation. And for a shameless plug for our website, we're www.asterism.org, so you'll never forget that. So Castor was the mortal son of the king of Sparta, while Pollux was the divine son of Zeus. So we'll leave it at that. I mean, you could look up the mother. But anyway, that's mythology for you. So this is a nice sculpture of the twins from Victoria and Albert Museum in England. Down the bottom, you see, it's really just, they're usually denoted as stick figures, but the only part you can see are like the heads. So they're either like that or on the side. That's probably how you can see them when you look up. The cool thing about, finding Sirius, it's not too hard because it is so bright. But actually, the stars of the belt point down to Sirius, so you always know where you're at. And the cool thing about the Castor and Pollux stars are they are different colors, and you can really try to work a telescope. I'm not so sure about set binoculars, so that the color will come through. So one of them is obviously hot, white hot, because it's cool ice blue. And this one is much older, Pollux. And actually, I just do a little on each constellation, but a lot of stars are not single stars system. They could be, 2 stars, 3 stars. This one is actually a 6-star system. You're seeing 1 star, but they've got companions, and then they've got other stars around them. And looking at the orbits of these things, you can just get how huge and literally astronomical distances are out there. I mean, it's just, it's just amazing. They obviously have some, I don't know if these are red dwarfs. You know what? I would like to know if anyone here knows. They're really interesting stars. They're low level, low burning, and they last longer than our solar system or the universe has gone, because they last trillions of years. How would we have ever even seen one die? It's just amazing, and a lot of astronomy blows your mind. But that's one of the things that really blows my mind. And if you could see them, you can't see them because they're not flashy. But if you see the night sky, all red stars are out there. It would just be beautiful. Now Pollux is like one of our, yellow giants. It's got a 33, almost 34 light years away. It's the nearest, I didn't realize this, the nearest giant star to our solar system. there are other stars that are closer, but this is the nearest big giant that we've got. All right. And then one of the things I like to do is find out one of our folks. I won't embarrass her, but she's here with us tonight. She is one of our new star astro photographers in Gemini. See, it's called IC443. It's a nebula, which is a sort of a birthplace for stars. That beautiful thing that I said looks very spacey, that's hanging down from Orion's belt. That's supposed to be his sword. That's a nebula too. It's dust and gas, and heating up and eventually becoming a star. And there are some other nebulas that are at the other end of the star's light. But this is, I guess that's Castor up there. That's his foot. But our friend Donna took this picture of the jellyfish for obvious reasons. It's called the Jellyfish Nebula. No, this is a supernova remnant. This is after the star died in the constellation Gemini. Look at that. But you too can get, photographs like this. I mean, that's one of the perks of membership, learning how to find exoplanets, planets in other systems, star systems, and also doing astrophotography like this. It's just stunning. And then next door to the left is that little, looks like an upside down Y. That is Cancer. I can never see it in the sky. I'm trying to look for a cluster of stars that's in there. And what I do is sort of figure out the space between Castor and Pollux, which I can see from Gemini. That's on the right. And on the left of the little upside down Y is Leo. I try to figure out what's sort of in the middle. And then I look around with binoculars, and then you see the cluster. It's just really adorable. All right. I did put that in there too, so you know where it is. That's on the foot of little Castor. So what I do is, I'm sorry, let me go back. Oh no, all right. I'll show some of that later. The Cancer is so hard to see, but that is sort of a good view of the pattern. Hera, the queen goddess, gave Hercules, who's there, not trying to give his, one of my favorite memes is showing a famous small sculpture. It's at the Met, actually, in New York, of him fighting the lion. That was one of his labors, and everyone says, yeah, that's me giving my cat a pill. But this one, he is busy trying to destroy Hydra, the snake, which is all over the left. And Hera sends a crab at his left leg to try to distract him. So he ends up winning both things. But as a reward for at least trying to help her distract Hercules, she put him in the sky. That's Cancer the crab. All right. Now see, this is that beehive cluster. And this is actually a sort of printing over or drawing over a real photo. That's why, I really like photos of constellations, because it gives you the idea of what it's like when they're trying to look. And that is actually, it may not look like much, but it's very charming. Right, you can see different colors there, and the cluster is called Beehive Cluster and M44. Some of them have cute names, and then some of them get numbers because there's a lot of stuff up there. When you see M in front of it, Charles Messier is a Frenchman who cataloged a lot of stars. There's also MGC, and then usually, let's say, 4 numbers after that. That's New General Catalog. So, like I said, when you don't have anything that is easy to pronounce, or it's one of a gazillion bunch, you will either have a cute name like Beehive Cluster, or I saw a good old M44 last night. But then again, I showed you how to find them, since you can't really see cancer at all. Now to the left, this is the last, this is the end, but the harbinger of spring is when you start to see the constellation Leo all the way on the left there. And as a matter of fact, those of you who like crossword puzzles, there's always, at least the times in the ledger. The ledger, well, there's no ledger anymore, but they use their puzzle from the LA Times. There's also sign of spring. Well, that's Leo, okay? So we're all the smarter for fixing up crossword puzzles. But there it is. It's Leo the lion. We'll show you next month or so Hercules in battle with the lion. And since the Oscars are coming up, I couldn't resist, but there's Leo. Maybe he will win it this year. And this is something my mom put in a card when she realized I was into astronomy, and told her how happy and joyous it is. It's free, it's up there, and it's peaceful, and it's just, you're never finished discovering. But that's how we all feel, really. And so I wish that. And clear skies, please, one day, when you come. And here's just my acknowledgments. And thank you very much for listening and coming. Thank you, John.
Anybody have any questions for Kathy?
Yeah, yes.
I just want to comment that in a really dark sky with a good telescope, good optics, you can actually see a little bit of pink or red in the line.
Really? With the bare eye? I mean, not
Well, through the telescope,
Yeah, through a telescope. Yeah.
just a hint.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
But when you take a photo of it, it's bright red.
Right. Exactly. Well, that's good. He's been a member a long time. Appreciate it.
Averted vision.
Huh? Averted. Yeah, a lot of things. As a matter of fact, one month when we had the Andromeda Galaxy to look. It's one of those things where they go, look in this direction, there are a few stars, got sort of a guidepost to it. And then if you look sort of off to the left or right, you can actually sort of see it better. And it actually glows a little bit. And the part we see is quite small. The whole thing is it extends, it would be the size of the full moon. See the edges. Yes.
You have to be careful that averted vision doesn't become averted imagination.
Yeah. Well, we're realists, and we're not. It's not to take it down, because knowing the astral constellations really help, because you do use it, and that's why they became so common. I mean, it's great, all the stuff that these folks years ago, and they're the lucky ones, right? They don't have our modern lighting, ruining the sky all the time. And watching sheep and shepherds, you have to be outside, you be looking around. And by the way, astronomy is one of the disciplines where amateurs can contribute a lot, because if you're a professional scientist, you have to have a specialty, and you're working on this project. You don't have time to just look. And one of the last, we were talking about a few comets last month that were making news, and one of them was discovered by an amateur who was just looking down. So it's just wonderful. Oh, and Men in Black, one of the cool lines is they're dealing obviously with aliens, but one of them looks up the agents and says, you know, we never just look anymore. You really are beautiful. Yeah. There you go. Okay, so that's the entertainment movie related part. Anyone else have, I should ask people at home, can you hear me?
Anyone online with questions?
Any? Just easy ones. One of the things is I know the night sky very well. There's so many people in this group who are
Yeah,
juniors.
Kathy, you did a great job.
Oh, thank you, Bonnie.
How many people are at Sperry tonight?
Actually, there's maybe 25. I mean,
Wow.
well, that's not including the
More like
youth.
20.
20. Okay, John's the spoil sport.
I'm counting.
Oh, okay, he's really, yeah.
Good talk, Kathy. I always like your talks.
Oh, thank you. Nice to see you, Sue. John, by the way, we have interesting people. John has a doctorate, but it's in music. I mean, people come to here from all over. I mean, we have many different disciplines and all that. And one of the people who started with astrophotography, he was like 85. He he lived in West Orange. They lived in that Llewellyn Park thing where the the Edison house is and all that stuff. And he had a little backyard observatory. And he took some of the first ones that I ever saw from the member. It was great. And actually, Cliff, who gave us that wonderful Jupiter, he's more in central Jersey. He has the backyard. What you call it? I'm sorry. Observatory. Steve does too. I don't want to give away everybody's secret. But,
Any other questions?
yes.
Another comment, I was up at Jenny Jump in the winter one time, I think in January, doing astrophotography. And I had gotten a can of soda from inside. And I did a shot for like half an hour. So I was guiding for half an hour back in the days when you had a guide. And when I finished the photograph, I leaned down where I had the soda and I went to take a drink and it was frozen.
There you go. So that's our hands after 5 minutes tomorrow. So and I remember I got my first telescope and it was equatorial, and I had to you really have to aim and everything like that. Oh my goodness. Actually, my teeth started to hurt. And then I realized nothing wrong with my dental thing. It was my muscles. But it was so cold, but it was so beautiful. I just kept it up. And I think I was trying to get something like Jupiter, but it was worth it. But these days, you've got a lot of, the new thing is, and several people here know it, is C-Star, which is, it's a telescope, but it's nothing you can look through. What it does is it just opens up, taking a photo, and it will take an hour, but you will get those fancy pictures because it's taking photograph after photograph. Right now they're about 500, and as I said, it's kind of some it will down. But you have to wait a while, but it will actually give you that that view. So you can't, call somebody over and say this is Jupiter, or look how beautiful the rings are in Saturn, because it's not an immediate thing. But it's just very cool. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, otherwise, just help.